Alright, how's it going, my squids? Today we're going to be learning how to play some tier and whatever the fuck you decide to play him. This is going to be fun build, I'll go over the real build here in a second, but I just wanted to point out this really fun build that is absolutely hilarious in any other game mode that's not Conquest. I know most of you guys only care about Conquest, but for those of you that want a little bit of fun, we'll talk about that here too. So Tyr is a very interesting character. He has stance switching. It's not his ultimate, which is even weirder, but you know, that kind of helps because his ultimate is actually pretty useful in terms of his stance switching because you can do some crazy ass things with it. But he has two stances. He's got his attack stance, then he's got his defense stance. His defense stance is when he's got a sword like this and he'll like change a little bit of color. The sword will be a different color, whatever, depending on what skin you're using anyway. And the abilities don't necessarily change. It's the first ability that changes from a knockback or knock-up, whatever it is you want to call it. And then when you go into the other stance, it just goes into you can dash through enemies and whatnot. So it's a very interesting way to use this character, and it adds a little bit of difficulty to warriors, because I'd say most of the warriors are pretty brain dead, minus the ones that you have to get real mechanical like Tyr, but I mean there's not a lot of those, so most of them are pretty brain dead. Now Tyr has a lot, and I mean a lot of utility. He can knock his enemies back, he can even throw them further back if you do the right combo. He can definitely outplay the enemy depending on if you're good enough to land his ultimate, because his ultimate is similar to Ravana's ult, but it's got a little bit more startup time, and you have to be very good at prediction because there is a lot of startup time for that thing, so anybody can pretty much get out of it if, you know, they're good. If there was a character that kind of resembles Lee Sin in League of Legends comparatively to this game, Tyr would be that character, because you can flash in and then knock somebody back and do like a flash kick, but it's not, you know, called a flash kick. It'd be like a fucking blink knockback. It's stupid, not even as remotely as cool. Alright, we'll get into all that a little bit later. Let's start talking about the fun build. So this is the fun build if you're playing Arena, Siege, anything where you just don't care if you lose. If you're playing Ranked and you play this fucking build, you just need to stop. Not to say that this build cannot work in Ranked or Conquest, but the amount of skill it would take for you to utilize this build at all, and I mean literally you'd have to hit everything. You'd have to be able to knock everybody back. You'd have to manage your rotations very well. You definitely would have to move to other lanes in order to even compensate like what exactly you're doing, because you're gonna get bullied no matter how much damage you build here. The enemy, your laner anyway, unless you're playing like support Tier for some fucking reason, but your enemy solo laner will build armor most likely because they're not brain dead, so they're gonna definitely build against all of this. So in order for you to even remotely use this build, it would have to go into massive late game and things would have to be very different, and even then it only gets harder. So that's why this build is good, because most of the other game modes go by a lot quicker and whatnot. So by 20 minutes you have this full build in Arena, or not even Arena, but like Arena's like 10 minutes, but any other game mode like Joust or Siege, you'll have to wait till you get a little bit later in the game, but the game goes by faster. So that's why this build works, because you can get ahead and you can do a lot of different stuff, and that's why it works, and it's super fun. Alright, now this is the actual build of what you would probably want to do. Now this is my personal build. There are definitely very different variations of this build, but I prefer this one because one, it's a good bit of damage. You got that defense. Again, you're going to be slacking in that magical damage or magical protection area, so you're going to have to be very careful against certain magic users, and I definitely would recommend swapping out a couple of these items or one of these items for like Pestilence or for like Mantle, or just something that gives dual like protections or something directly towards magical protection, because you will be very vulnerable, so you'll just have to bear that in mind. For me, I prefer to play around it. If I can play around it, get a nice assassination off, because I like to play assassin Tier because I'm stupid ass, but you know, whatever. So let's talk about this for a minute. So we got our regular boost, we go into breastplate so we can have that, you know, early just armor. You don't necessarily need a whole lot of damage early on, because your Tier, you just naturally do a lot of damage, so you don't necessarily need to go like Jotuns or anything ridiculous right out the gate. So just breastplate is perfectly fine. You get that 20% CDR, so you can stance switch often, you can use your 1 often, you can use your 2, you know, you just get all the, you know, the benefits of having the, you know, cooldown reduction, because you are very ability based. You are not going to win fights autoing people, so that's just something just to bear in mind. Then we go into Stone of Gaia, because you want that 400 health, the HP 5, the MP 5, and you also want the passive regeneration, because that allows you to give yourself a little bit of room to work with. You can, you know, sit in the tower if you need to, if you're getting bullied in lane by somebody like a Bellona or Chalk, where he can just poke you down with his axes. So you want that little bit of sustain, so you can manage to be in lane long enough in order to build items, farm, whatever it is you need to do. So this item helps you lane a little bit more efficiently against the bullies. You can definitely swap this item out for something a little bit different, but if you're having trouble dealing with lane bullies, this item will give you a little bit of a crutch to help you out with that. So just keep in mind that you can swap it out for something else if you want. Then we go into Gladiator Shield. Now this is where things get a little interesting because you can definitely swap this out, and I don't recommend this item in every situation, but it is a very good item because of the passive. Anytime you hit an enemy god with an ability, you are healed for 2.5% of your maximum health and mana. This can only trigger once per ability. So as you guys know, tier has a combo that you do. You press 1 and then you hit 2. So depending on how you use that, you have to remember that this is a passive to an item. You have to make sure that you guys are using it properly. So you take a bit of damage, do your combo, knock them out of tower, you heal back up, and then boom, 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 they're gonna die because you're doing 1,000,000 damage, and now you're getting some health back. You also get that extra CDR, so something that you guys want to just focus on. But as I said in the beginning, that this is not an every game item. You definitely don't want to build this every game. It's not something that you should always do. Ancile is a good replacement for that magical protection. It'll give you that magical protection that you need desperately, because like I said, there is nothing here that is going to benefit you as much as Ancile. So you just have to keep in mind that it's something that's going to be a bigger issue later on, but you know, Ancile is going to give you, you know, the good passive, the physical power, the protections, the cooldown reduction, which will cap you out at 40. So you'll have a little bit of something to work with. So I definitely would recommend building Ancile, but if you want to get a little antsy and you want to, you know, just get froggy with your enemy laner, then just, you know, build that other item and you'll be fine. Like I said, arguably Ancile is way better, but that's up to you guys. Then we go into Void Shield and Shifter Shield, and these are for obvious reasons. These are going to give you pretty much everything you need to deal with squishies. You get that physical power, you're going to get a lot of damage off of your first ability, and then when you combo with your second, that's extra damage. When you hit that ultimate to predict where they're going to go, you're going to do even more damage. So just with tier, you don't want to be the main tank. If you don't have a support character that is a tank, like if, for example, if you have like a Hell or something that's not mid laning, then you know this would be something that you would definitely not want to do. You'd want to go full tank tier and just be the engage for your team, which essentially you're still the engage with this and you're still very tanky, but you want to build more different items like Mantle of Discord, Hide of the Urchin, stuff like that for being an actual frontline. This is more like Bruiser bully late game, I guess. Alright, so let's go ahead and start talking about abilities. So starting off with his passive, which is Unyielding, Stuns, Taunts, Fears, Intoxicate, and Mesmerize cannot affect tier for longer than 1 second. So this is very good because he doesn't necessarily have to build CC anything. He can just go full damage boots right off the bat. So this is a very, very, very good passive in order to know that your opponents are not going to have as much as an effect on you as they would like. So if they have like a Sylvanas or anybody that can do a lot of crowd control, then it's going to be very hard to deal with tier because he's not going to be CC'd for more than 1 second. So, you know. Moving on to his first ability, Fearless. Now, I'm going to cover both the first and second ability in red stands real quick because they go together essentially. So, your first ability is nothing, it's, you know, super special. It's just a knockback. And then when you pair it with your second ability, it knocks them further back. So this is great for, you know, out-positioning the enemy. So you could ult behind them or dash behind them or blink behind them and basically push them into your team. And then your team, if they're smart and whatnot, they'll definitely capitalize on that. But if not, well, then you just wasted that for nothing. Now to talk about the combo for a minute, sometimes you don't want to knock them back. Sometimes you just want to out-position them and then get that damage so you can be right on top of them. So if you do this and then you knock them far back, look how far you are away. Like you won't be able to hit any, you just won't be able to hit any autos, right? So sometimes you want to let them drop so that way you can just get the free damage from your 2. So what you would want to do is you want to knock them back, wait for them to drop, then hit this, and then just start whacking them because you're right up on top of them. So you then can do some interesting stuff. And then you can even stance switch, hit your 2 here again still, and then you can maybe even finish him off with a dash through. So there's a couple different ways you can utilize his stance switching and whatnot, but for the most part, you don't always want to knock them back. I know it sounds good in theory, but if your team is trash and they're not going to capitalize off what you can do, especially when it comes to playmaking, it's up to you. So take matters into your own hands and try and delete somebody with the full combo and then just auto them to death. That's why the AD build works, because you're going to do a lot of damage and you can get some interesting one-shots off. So that's why I'm saying that the AD build will work. Physical power on tier is disgusting. On any squishy, you will half health them immediately with a full combo, and if you manage to hit the other combo with switching stances and hitting the ultimate, that's utter deletion. So that's why it works. Now switching on over to blue stance, this is your defensive stance. You gain protections and whatnot in here, and the other one is attack, of course. But basically, the whole point of this is you're going to basically use this as an escape. Like that's all it is. It's just an escape. You can dash through enemies and whatnot. It's pretty good in terms of like getting out of situations because 90% of the time you're diving in doing some crazy stuff. So if you get in, you auto switch to blue stance and then you just dash out, and nobody can really deal with that because you're just gone like the fucking magic school bus. Moving on to his blue stance second ability, Power Cleave. This is essentially the same thing as the first ability, but it doesn't have the same effect. So you don't knock enemies away when they're mid-air. In this one, you get a heal. Now this is why your shield build works with what the fuck is this item called? Gladiator Shield, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Gladiator Shield. So that's why that item works, because this ability allows you to heal for quite a bit, and especially if you hit 3 enemies at least, you're going to be getting a lot of health back. And then when you pair that with your actual Gladiator Shield, you'll be getting a little bit extra more health. That's why it works, but you don't always want to use that shield. I just have to stress that this is why I put that in the build, because it works, but not all the time. So just bear that in mind, that would be the reasoning why you build it. Other than that, even if you don't have Gladiator Shield, it's still going to do a buttload of damage, and it's going to heal you for a good bit, so it gives you a little bit of room for outplay potential, so just bear that in mind. And as for your third ability, this is your stance switch. It's, you know, assault stance is physical power, guard stance protections. So there you go, nothing too special. Then we go over to his fourth ability, which is his ultimate Lawbringer, and this is where things get like nuts. All right, you can do some interesting stuff. So you'll get a slow for 25%, and you'll be doing massive damage. Now to show you guys, this thing is huge, but you're gonna see the problem with it here shortly. Look at that startup times. But see, if you can pull it off, you can do stuff like that. But of course, that's easier said than done, because not everybody doesn't have thumbs, or not everybody is missing thumbs. So obviously, it's gonna be one of those things that it's not always gonna be something you can hit. Now me, I like to engage with this, but I don't like to engage and go for the combo, because I feel like I miss that more than anything, and it's something that can work. Instead, what I like to do is, for example, I'll do my combo first, and then like, what the fuck? I don't know what happened there. He just kind of got knocked out of that. All right, let's try that again. I like to do the combo, and then I like to predict where they're gonna go, which this is fucking way off, but you get my point. Like, you want to predict where they're gonna go, because sometimes they have a mobility move, or sometimes they have like a blink or teleport or something that they can pull off. So if you can predict it, then basically it's something more useful, because then you land on top of them, and then you can still remain to do damage. So, you know, like I said, when you do this shit, they're obviously gonna run away. So if you predict where they're gonna go, you can just get right back in here and then just do your stuff and do what you want. So it's one of those things that it's better to use it as either an escape, engage, or prediction, because prediction is gonna guarantee more stuff. Personally, if you're gonna engage, just go for the engage. Just go for this, right? Start fighting, line up, like take the time to line up the knockback. That's all you gotta do. Take the time. You don't gotta rush, you don't gotta do anything crazy. As long as your team follows up, you've already initiated the team fight, you're good to go. You did your job. If your team didn't follow up after that engage, that's their fault. That's literally just their bad, because once you engage, it's pretty much over, excuse me. So basically that's all you want to do with here. There's nothing else. That's pretty much it. There's nothing to them really. The difficulty is the mechanics in hitting it back, because sometimes the first ability can be janky. Alright, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys want to play Smite with me or check out my stream, I will be coming out with a stream schedule, but I'm currently streaming on Mixer because I'm not exactly ready for you guys to see me unedited yet. So if you guys want to catch my stream on Mixer, go ahead and go in the link in the description, hit that follow button, and then I'll be streaming mostly at nights. That's when I like to stream, because nobody's up, and you know, my son's not all up in my room, and I'm not doing other things. So like, daytime is family time, alright, and then nighttime is kind of like me time. So just, you know, that's why I stream at night. So if you can't make it, I don't blame you guys. It's fine. It's an unrealistic schedule. I'm probably gonna try and stream on the weekends, because that's when, you know, kids are out of school, people maybe have days off, so it's more against, you know, you guys can stay up and watch the stream. So I'll try and make it Saturday and Sundays, but just know that during the day it's normally family day, and that's what I'm doing. I'm with my son, or I'm doing other things. So that's just why I stream at night. But anyway, thank you guys again. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.